Let's get started with the lovely lady panel and John Anderson.
Nice way to start.
This is the film Fatale panel, part of our Skyway Labs, which is a group of the labs was created I went to IFP last year, and what that is the Independent Filmmaking Producers Lab, and where you go and you learn about from beginning to end, making your film, and you go with a story, and it comes out where you have all these people that collaborate on that project to make it. And that's what the labs is really about, is learning from people in the industry and getting that project, going in the right, direction. So we brought in today the film Fatales, which is a group of ladies that work and collaborate together and get their ideas and visions out to the world. We have Lynn Reed, who's the writer and producer of A Sort of Homecoming. The film plays today at 2 o'clock. Yep, there you go. We have from Team Worthy here, we have Amber Lee Coulson, the writer, producer, and lead actress in the film. And we have the director, Mariana Palca. And then we have, who the festival will be named after soon, Lee Lu, who's the director of A New World Somewhere. And she's also, that film plays today at 5:45. And I'm sorry, Worthy plays at 7:20 tonight as well. Lee's also part of our teleplay pitch contest tomorrow, at right around 1 o'clock, I think it is. And then we have the man, the myth, the legend, that is going to interview and discuss with these ladies, John Anderson, who's a journalist, film critic, this lover of film, and some films, and we're going to call him John, I think. So John? I hope, let's get the show going, and here's, you guys have microphones, and everything looks good.
Ooh, it's John.
You want to take it away?
Do you want us to call you John or Johnny?
Sorry?
John? John, okay.
John's good.
John's good.
Is this mic on?
Yeah, my mic is on.
Oh, okay. Okay. Oh, you take it.
Oh, okay. So these are just...
I'm technical. I can't even watch 3D movies
Thanks, Joe.
without screwing it up. So.
I don't need a microphone.
So anyway, I'm like the sacrificial lamb on this panel. Thanks for setting us up with the lady panel thing. That's fairly good. It's funny, I was in the airport yesterday coming here, and I was talking to a filmmaker friend named Jennifer Callahan, who has made a documentary about the Rockaways after Hurricane Sandy, which is a very interesting film. Nice. Tough to program. She's been asking my advice, which shows how desperate she is. But she said, I've gotten together with this group called Film Fatales.
Yeah.
And what they're doing is packaging films by women and presenting them to festivals as sort of a thematic, I guess.
Yeah, that's true.
Making life easier for film programmers.
Yeah, that's what they're doing.
And making life easier for film programmers is really what you should be doing. Also for press, but we get into that later. But can you address that? Because it seemed like a really good idea.
Yeah,
a good way of getting women-made films on the menus.
I was just telling Joe that I'm a member of Film Fatales in Los Angeles, so we go and have dinner together and share information, and it's a really great way to help everyone who's coming up, and also to see people who we know really well and who we work with often, like Sylvia, our friend who did a movie that we did together. She's there every time I go there. Like, it's the nicest. It's like a knitting club, except if we were making movies instead of scarves. And
No
our movie Worthy.
Tupperware included.
Yeah.
We bring food and we bring wine. It's pretty.
You guys are all
pretty
getting
great.
free Tupperware, by the way, today. But our movie Worthy actually is part of that. They're gonna show it in like a clump of other movies with people who are female who have directed movies.
'Cause
Hi, girl. Yay.
They have someone at the Film Fatales that works on the programming board,
Yeah,
so they
she's
have
awesome.
a running list of films completed in that year, and they send that out to festivals. But that's only like a small portion of what they do.
Okay, well, yeah, please
Yeah, they
expand
do
on
so
what you
much.
do because
I mean,
people
They're
don't.
all around the world.
All around the world, yeah. It started off in New York with Leah, and it kind of grew into this multi-city thing where there's a chapter in Los Angeles, New Orleans, Chicago,
Scotland, Poland.
all around the world. Yeah, so it's quite amazing that we can all be under this umbrella, but we can all have our own little local niche. But what's so wonderful about this group is its energy. It's a really safe space for female filmmakers to get together, talk about what they're working on, talk about their fears or hopes or dreams, and support each other and give concrete advice that can help them achieve whatever they're trying to do. So it's a home away from home. I think it's such a
nice
great
to come
energy.
back to after you've made a film as well and be like, this happened. You know, like I made Good Dick, my first feature, without having that kind of female community around me. Like I had my friends in Amberley, and I had everybody supporting, and that's a sort of collaborative community dynamic. And I think that's the way to make art. And I think that the more that can happen for men and women, I think, you know, it behooves us all. I think it behooves like our humanity. It's not just about being a woman, it's about being kind.
There has been a lot of discussion in the media online and elsewhere, some of it predicated by the scene at Cannes this year where they wouldn't let women go up the red carpet without heels.
God, that was
which seemed
ridiculous.
like the stupidest thing ever.
Well, the other
yeah.
thing about Cannes is they don't even have female directors. Like apparently women are not directors.
While they're honoring Agnes Varda, you know.
Yeah, and you're like,
On
what
that
the
year.
fuck? Excuse my French. I'm from Scotland, so like, if I swear, it only means we're closer. But that was ridiculous. The number of female directors at Cannes is 0. Like, it's ridiculous. Sundance, it's usually like a third, between like a third and a half are female directors. When I was there with Good Dick, I think I was the only female director with a feature. And when I went to the party at the DGA, they were like, hey, so who are you here with? And I was like, I'm here with my movie.
Isn't that amazing?
They were like,
ask
no,
you
but
that?
whose movie?
You must be a
who's your
+1 or
husband,
something.
boyfriend? Who are like you're obviously someone's date. And I was like, no, I have a movie. And they were like, oh, is it a short? And I was like, no, it's a feature film. And they were like, it's a documentary. And I was like, no, it's not. It's a feature. It's in dramatic competition. And they were like, what? And I was like, yeah. And everyone, it wasn't like one person. It was like everyone at this place.
Yeah.
And I just didn't realize that the women thing was really an issue. But I actually don't think it's an issue because it's not been an issue for me. Like I haven't ever had a door closed because I have a vagina. I feel like doors open because you have vaginas.
I'm not going there.
I mean, you have one vagina. Sorry. How many do you guys have? I have many vaginas. I have like 17 vaginas.
I just want to share a little bit of my story because I tried to use this, industry-wide problem as an advantage for my film. I wrote the film, I put a producing team together, and we knew we wanted to hire a director. And we actually went through the Alliance of Women Directors in Los Angeles, which is another, organization for women directors that's been around for quite a long time. And we met them. They have a listserv. We were able to tell them about our project and interview dozens of women directors, who were interested. And I just looked at it strategically as an opportunity that if there are experienced directors who are not getting work in the studio system, then I can attach somebody to my project, who has great experience and can bring a lot, to the project, which we did with Maria Burton. This was her 5th feature. Yet she's not getting studio work. She's, not getting television work. But we saw that as an advantage for us strategically in the project.
Yeah, not to go off the subject, but are you Film Fatales, or is it Films Fatales? Film Fatales.
It's whatever you want, John. You can call it anything.
The Fatales.
Whatever you choose.
Okay. Is it strictly feature filmmaking, or is it about TV and commercial work too?
Everything.
It's everything in Los Angeles.
new
In
media.
New York, there's different subgroups. There's a shorts group, there's a features group, there's a documentary group, and I think in LA there might be some division as well coming up. But for the moment being, we accept all kinds. But the sort of prerequisite is that you have to have had completed one feature film or are in the process of making that first feature.
Because I know when Anna DuVernay was promoting Selma, which she did very well, I have to say, she was saying that, the DGA is a boys' club, and you have to sort of infiltrate or circumvent. You were at the DGA for this one particular event, or the DJ party at Sundance.
Yes.
I mean, I guess what I'm trying to ask is it cluelessness, or is it a conscious? Is the industry in Hollywood consciously keeping women out, or is it just that everybody that directors know are men, and so everybody works at the people they know, and it just one thing leads to another?
Well, I think that there's a real Amberly. You should talk about. Were you gonna say something? No. The mic was going close to your face, I thought.
I was just rehearsing what it would be like to bring it up to my mouth. And I feel really comfortable now, so if I want to be spontaneous.
Okay, good, do it. I think that what's happening right now is the world is changing. So I feel like even the most radicalized people and even the most non-radical people are sharing in this experience of having a sense of coming back to the Great Mother, which isn't just a female thing. It's actually about being together and being in community. And the internet has unified us in this way that makes us able to all be together and help each other. And I think that that is changing everyone's life. And I think it's changing art, and I think that it's changing filmmaking. And I think that I'm always reluctant to talk about like the problem, because I feel like the problem is already changing. Like there's so much information that Gina Davis has been promoting, and like she did a survey, we all did this survey, I was part of a survey about female directors in America that Women in Film commissioned through Sundance, and it was really awesome because we got to see like what are the numbers right now, and the numbers are like treacherously disgusting. But I also feel like that doesn't mean I don't get up every day and I don't like make a movie every day. Like I make a movie every day. So what does that mean? It means that like maybe everyone in this room who wants to make a movie is going to do that now. And I think really great art comes out of any form of repression ever. So if you feel even a little bit like put upon, it's good for your art in a way, like in society. So I'm always like, I always have this kind of like shying away from trying to figure out like what's like someone else's problem with women, because I just don't see the world that way. And I feel like I'm empowered, and I feel like I get to do the kind of work that I want to do, and I get to use my voice. And if there's anything I can do that helps another woman use her voice, I'll do it. But I'll do that for a guy too, you know?
Can I join Film Fatale?
Yeah. You're already a member. We already talked about it. We need you, John.
To add to that, I think there is something in the culture, in the industry that we all work in. Before directing full-time, I worked as an AD. That's where I met her.
And we got so bonded the first second we met each other.
So I was the first AD out of college after I graduated USC. And even for myself, I AD'd, I think, full-time for about 7-8 years. And and one day I actually sat down and I counted how many women directors I've actually AD'd for, and 5, one hand, out of all the directors that I've worked under. And that shows my blindness too, in a sense. Like, there's something there that you have to sort of look inward and look to yourself to see, okay, this is the problem, this is my experience in it, what can I do to change it? And I think a very concrete way to do that is to have people just hire more women. Mm-hmm. I think it's a very easy thing, but there's something in the water a little bit. It's this mentality. Like, for example, we met with a sales rep for our film a week ago, and I went with my producer, who's male, and I was feeling a little bit something was going on, and I actually timed his eye contact to me versus him, and it was like 80-20. And I'm just sitting there like, okay, I'm answering all your questions. We're both speaking very intelligently. You know that this script, this film came out of me more than anything, but yet you don't look at me when we're trying to have a meeting, have a conversation.
He was shy. He
He's
liked
an
you.
introvert.
That's what it was. That's
He
the problem.
wanted to go on a date with you, maybe.
No, he had that.
No, it wasn't that.
He just had that, Hollywood swagger agent thing, and I'm just so. Whenever I recognize that energy, I kind of just like, I sort of let that evaporate as soon as I can through my behavior. Just sort of humanize them and try to bring them back down to earth, honestly. But
Has anyone here seen the Entourage movie? We should have preceded
rather take a nap.
this panel
Thank you very much.
with the Entourage movie, because it's what you're talking. Male swagger in Hollywood is it's off the charts.
I thought that movie was about menstruation. It's not about that?
No, it's not. Oh,
Periods?
coffee.
They don't get their period in Entourage? Wait, guys don't get periods?
I'm sorry,
Hey,
I
Joe.
got derailed there for a sec. You mentioned Gina Davis. It's funny.
Yes.
Did anyone see In a World, which is the Lake Belf comedy?
Thank you.
When you saw
In a
it,
World, yeah, I love that movie.
Yeah, it's really
that
great.
That was at Sundance too. I love
and it went over so well at Sundance.
She's
It was just-
incredible, yeah.
Yeah, and Gina Davis has this moment where she talks about why she's giving Lake Bell's character the job, because it's good for women and it's good for girls.
Yeah.
And maybe you can talk about that, because I don't know what Gina Davis is up to. I mean, that moment now to me
She
sounds like it
actually
was...
is amazing.
She has a new
has
film festival.
Oh, okay.
in Bentonville.
Yeah, we actually entered Worthy into that festival because we were like, it's a female writer, female director, female protagonist. It's shot with lots of flower shots in there and stuff. And they didn't ask us to come there.
Us either.
Join the club.
Did you guys go there?
We all submit.
Thanks for bringing that up,
really?
Marianne.
I was like, Gina.
Because there's a little
What do you want
asterisk
from
to
us,
that.
blood?
Its main corporate sponsor is Walmart, and all the films that were programmed there were safe in that kind of a sense. So it's also its inaugural year, so I could see what they were trying to do with, a kind of tone and a kind of so you're nodding your head, because I mean, with a little bit of edge, I think it would have been a little risky for them to put in.
I do love Gina for saying that, when they made Thelma and Louise and when she did the baseball movie, what's it called again?
League of Their Own.
How good is that movie? I mean, that's such a great film. I mean, we all love these like great female characters who are in that movie, and
directed
obviously
by a
Thelma and
woman.
Louise, and directed by a woman. Yeah, I mean, I love like Nancy Meyer. I love like anything that's that female voice. But I also love that when Hollywood started, the writers were all women. Like in the beginning, women were just writers. Like if you were a woman, you were a writer, and that's what happened. And I really feel like there's something so beautiful about the idea of going back to the olden days of cinema. Like if you watch old movies, the characters are dynamic. Like the women are three-dimensional, and all those movies pass the Bechdel test. I don't know if you guys know what the Bechdel test is.
Talk about the Bechdel test.
The Bechdel test is, Lynn should say what it is. Lynn, you say what it is, because I'm going to say it in a Scottish accent and bastardize it.
There have to be at least
More than one woman in
two
it.
named characters in the film who are women who talk to one another in a scene and don't talk about a guy.
So everyone in this room who's going to write a movie, you have to write a movie that has more than one female, and you have to write a movie that involves them talking about something that's not a dude. Even if they're talking about Tupperware. Just something that's not a dude.
Yeah. And I mean,
Please.
it's kind of a ridiculously minimum standard in some ways, but if you go online and look at the
Yeah.
lists of movies that don't even pass that test,
Yeah.
it's really pretty stunning.
Yeah.
Um,
Worthy passes that test.
Worthy passes the test.
Yeah.
Yeah, because she's talking about, and Amberly always talked about this. I mean, she's going to talk about it, but she always talked about the character not being the movie that we made. She didn't want it to be about the character getting to the dude, or the movie being about her, or her life being for the dude.
Mm-hmm.
So I was so inspired by that, and I just was like, this is the movie that we're making. We're making a movie about a female character, and it doesn't necessarily have to do with her finding the man, but about her finding herself. And I thought that was really like beautiful, and it was the thing that kept me inspired like the whole time. We're best friends, so it was really easy to work with Amberly. Yeah.
Who's the fellow who plays your friend? And I realize no one's seen it yet. I've seen it, but Eric.
Eric Edelstein?
Yeah. The first person, by the way, eaten by a dinosaur in Jurassic World.
I know.
seen it yet?
He's
Just
also
so you
in
know.
Spoiler
Arctic.
alert.
Wait, excuse me, John.
It's the first
there are
one. He's the
dinosaurs in
first
Jurassic?
one.
Jurassic Park
John.
is about dinosaurs?
You're going to go to Jurassic World without
What?
knowing people are going to be eaten by dinosaurs? Come on. I think
I thought they were gonna snuggle.
that should be on his resume.
He's amazing. We love him, and we also, the three of us, meditate.
True.
My point is, Bryce Dallas Howard never takes off her high heels, even when she's firing automatic weapons. Really? So I just
But
want
Bryce
you to
is
know.
okay with that, I think, you know?
So if there's something in the water that hasn't reached somebody on Jurassic
I think
World,
there's something awesome about having high heels sometimes. I think there's something awesome about being girly and powerful at the same time.
Well, that whole Ginger Rogers thing, you know, she did everything backwards and in heels.
right,
So
right.
I
Even
can gaff in heels, by the way, if anyone ever wants
I'm
to.
wearing heels right
gaff
now.
in heels.
So
that's
I'm not getting up. But,
That's amazing.
I found an interesting thing in watching your films, and I don't think that you need to see the films to address this issue. Everybody sort of has the women characters sort of have a self-destructive thing going on, right?
Oh, yeah.
Particularly in Worthy. I mean, can you guys talk about that, because it's sort of essential to all the stories, and yet you don't get that in a male-directed movie, I don't think.
Yeah, you do, I think.
Well, yeah, but it's not sympathetic. you know.
Right. No, I
Oh.
think that's yeah. I mean, at least let me start. But
Yeah, yeah,
you know,
Go, Lynn.
my character, you know, we go through most of the movie is when my lead character is a 18-year-old high school senior, but then we also see her as a much older woman, sort of reflecting back on that time, and she made some bad choices at the end of her senior year that had consequences that she's only really dealing with emotionally much later. But like you just said, John, we're inside her perspective in her head, so we're not judging her in the same way, you know, for making bad choices, because we understand what led up to it. And I think that's really important.
Yeah. I mean, and Jules in Worthy is, I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but making one bad choice after another.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But seemingly because she's in this system that is asking of her things that she can't really cope with.
Yeah, she's making a lot of bad choices, which I do think in your question, I drew from themes that are familiar in my life. And that self-destructive behavior, to me, though, is this is very loud, isn't it?
It is, Amberly.
Is the way that I feel like I learn and grow. And so I do think I wrote her to self-destruct so that she could come out on the other side. And part of that being her self-discovery and her kind of falling in love with herself at the end rather than a guy, and finding completeness in that way. But I find self-destructive, like, I do think if you can laugh at it and find sympathy, like, that's great, because to see someone be self-destructive and also, like, not like them, we talked about that a lot, that fine line between watching someone be self-destructive and not being empathetic to what they're going through.
Just to be clear, Jules's mistakes are sort of a professional, practical nature.
Yes, she's in the world. Yeah,
not romantic mistakes.
Exactly.
It's not that kind of thing.
Yeah,
She shows up in a cheerleader's outfit or a marching band outfit for one
she's
audition
trying so
that's
hard.
completely wrong, right?
And that's what I loved about. I mean, that's what I love about her. She's just trying to get her acceptance, obviously through external means, and she just tries so hard to get it right. And it's not until she, obviously lets go of that and figures out she doesn't have to try so hard that she actually gets what she wants. But I forgot the question that we started with.
It was. What's interesting is you had to play a character who you have to play a bad act. You have to play a good actress being bad, and then being really, really good.
Yeah.
That must be tough. or an extra hurdle anyway.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we talked. Yeah, that was as an actress from the acting point of view to nail the bad and the good, so that the audience gets why you're not getting the job, but then they still have to get why you do get the job. Yeah, that was a tricky one.
Yeah, and in Lee's movie, there's an opening line that struck me because I knew I was doing this. My problem is I knew I was doing this panel when I was watching the films, so I was filtering it through a film fatale.
Right. What questions you can garner
device.
from it? Yeah.
But the guy at the beginning of the film says no one deserves any. The lead character wants this job at the art gallery.
Right.
And
Yeah.
he says nobody deserves anything.
Especially
least of all
in
in
the
art
art
world.
world. Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
But what I think you all would agree with is people deserve an equal opportunity. I mean, she may not deserve success, which I think is how he frames it. Nobody
Absolutely.
deserves a success.
Right.
But she's not given the opportunity.
Yeah, the opportunity to shine. Yeah. I think in my film, what I really wanted to explore was when you have everything taken away from you. In the beginning, we open on the lead character Sylvia. She just lost her job, and she boards a plane to go back to her hometown of Austin, Texas, to attend her friend's wedding. These are all of her college friends and everything, and she is immediately inundated with all these faces from her past, but also how well they're doing. People are starting families, people are getting married, people are buying houses, and she can barely keep rent, doesn't really have a job, and kind of has to tell this white lie about how great she's doing just to survive the moment. And within that kind of chaos in her own mind, in her inner, she meets this man at a party before the wedding, and he's about to go on a road trip to sort of, explore the South and also have it also interior journey as well. And she kind of throws everything away to doesn't attend the wedding, ditches her friends, and joins up with him on the road. And it's a hard film because people judge her for that. People judge her turning her back against her friends, against her responsibilities, and it makes or breaks, either you stay or you walk out at that moment. Uh-huh. But it's a very difficult thing for even people to see on screen these days, like, oh, the character wasn't likable. Are we likable 100% of the time? I don't think so.
I judged her for not making the bed,
what?
Basically. She didn't make the bed
she
before
didn't
she
make
left.
the bed. The gall.
So that's a passive-aggressive gesture.
Right. But I think you were talking about how you don't see this quality in male-directed films.
Right.
And I think there's a correlation between an inner brokenness that is equated to weakness in films like that are directed by males, versus films that are more about the subject directed by women, because we see the humanity in that moment. We see the humanity in being a little lost, a little something not quite there. So I think that's very interesting and also worthy to explore, like the inner turmoil that someone can have.
She's also judging herself by
constantly
by a very sort of traditional kind of life.
Sure.
I mean, she's seeing people with homes and marriages and children,
right.
and saying, "I'm not meeting that standard, so I must be." The only thing is go off with a psycho on a road trip, which she doesn't know. I thought at one point maybe he was a psycho, but
he's a little, because he is an escapist in the most extreme term, which you'll see in the film. If you will see it, you'll see why. But it's always the grass is always greener kind of concept. I just attended my high school reunion last week.
Terrible.
Yeah, it was actually pretty good. It was very strange for like the first hour, but I think everyone got a couple drinks and we're fine. But even though I feel we're doing well and we're living an enriched life, but when we see someone that has just something different versus what you have, you start to wonder. You start to say, did I make the right choice? Did I miss something there? So yeah, I think being caught up in that moment, I think, is a very human thing. Like, did I make the right choices? Did I choose best in that moment?
What do you suggest to? I suspect there might be some filmmakers here or people who want to make films. That's usually who come to these panels.
Yeah, you guys. They look like they want to make movies. They look like a bunch of directors.
Well, at least they don't look like a bunch of producers.
It can be anything you want.
At least they don't look like
You guys
press.
can do whatever you want to do.
But what do you? What kind of advice do you give people?
I think
Lynn,
it's
you
really
jump in.
important to make a film. When you make a film about something that has social significance, like a group of people who don't have a voice or a particular individual character who's never been explored before, I think that makes it really easy to work on the movie for the rest of your life, which you're going to be doing. You know, I think that it was interesting for me because when I started out, I was always sort of looking up to Ken Loach and to Peter Mullen because they are, to me, like the epitome of like the female director. I mean, like they're amazing souls, and they actually make movies about, you know, a group of people in England who were in a trade union, and like the story was really interesting. So then they made a movie about that. Or Peter Mullen made a movie called Ned's about like a bunch of kids in Glasgow who were about to like go through this process of really becoming like people who are artists in real life, and like through making the movie he like radicalized these people's lives, you know. And with Good Dick, when we were making that, I feel like I read the statistic that 1 in 3 women are sexually abused in America before the age of 16. And I was an actress, and I was doing a lot of stuff in LA, like going out for auditions and stuff. And it just pissed me off so much, that statistic, that I went and wrote the script and came back and was like, all right, I'm going to direct this. And I wanted to see a character that wasn't, because I think likable is like a funny word. Like, I don't really make movies for people to like the characters, but I feel like it's something that you can make a movie in a responsible way, like in a morally responsible way, where by the end of it, everyone is a greater human being if they watch the movie, hopefully, like touch wood. Those were the films I grew up watching, but I feel like there's so much there. It's not so much about like what can I do as a director that's going to be good for me. It's like, how can I help the world, you know? Like maybe it's about putting a bunch of ladies in a film, or maybe you have a script that's like all men characters, and you could like make some of those male characters female characters and just like help everybody out, you know? I think that there's so much work to be done that's amazing.
Well, those kinds of films, though, have never been, and I don't mean to sound pessimistic, but are usually not the Jurassic worlds of...
Not in America sometimes, but
Yeah.
you know,
I mean,
in
occasionally
Europe
there's a
they are.
breakthrough or
The
something.
movies that make money in the world, in the rest of the world, are socially conscious movies, you know? Like movies that help our humanity. And frankly, I think Jurassic Park like helps our humanity. Like it's very entertaining. That movie's going to be fun, and people are going to go with their families and see that movie. Like that helps us out. But I think that the idea that it's like that it has a purpose, that what your art has a purpose, like I think is really key, and it just behooves us all.
But you don't think there's a choice to be made between making meaningful movies and successful?
Hell no. I don't think that money and art are separate from each other. I think that when you make something that's artful, that's what you get paid for. Like, you know, Damien Hirst makes the stuff that he makes, and that guy's a billionaire. Like, and the reason he makes that stuff is because he thinks about magical things, you know? Like he's not thinking about what can I do that's going to be really conventional. Right. You know, that's not how artists operate.
But not to be argumentative, but
no, I love this
he's
debate.
operating on his, I mean, he's not working within a system. I mean, Damien Hirst is his own system.
As we all should be, you know, like every artist, it's our own responsibility as filmmakers to do our thing and do our biggest dream, and that is weirdly the thing that you get paid for. Like when I made Good Dick, I was like, this is the most arty thing I'll ever do in my whole life, and then that's the thing that has, you know, that shot into outer space, you know, and it was like just so inspiring to realize that you can make your art and make money at the same time, that you don't have to shy away from it because it's artful.
I mean, I admire what you're saying. I think I'm a little bit more of a hard-headed realist about it right now because I'm going through the process of, you know, trying to find distribution and wondering if I'm going to be able to pay myself back and pay my investors back. And it's hard and it weighs heavily on me, and I don't know the answer to it yet. So I think that as much as we might like to say we can operate outside of the system or create our own system, there are definitely points, distribution and sales being a key one, in which the system is just much, much bigger than what we're able to do individually. And I don't know the end game yet, but I'm concerned about it. I had another point there that I've lost, but what is interesting is that I think a lot of people who, for a couple of years now, who've been talking about making their own system, talk about going directly to the fans and building your own audience on social media and using mechanisms like
Crowdfunding.
iTunes or Tug or all these other great
Yeah, we
internet
all did
resources to reach the audience directly. And look, I'm wholeheartedly in favor of that. I just don't know yet how the numbers work.
I want to speak on that a little bit. For our film, we did 2 rounds of crowdfunding on a site called Seed and Spark.
Oh
Yeah, I love them.
So for you guys that don't know, Seed and Spark is an amazing platform that's made exclusively just for film. All film projects, docs, shorts, features, what have you. And it's incredible because it helps the filmmaker from like inception, from pre-production, development almost. And now they just opened up their own distribution wing as well.
They're so cool.
And they're basically playing aggregators, and they help you place your film onto VOD and digital platforms. But in terms of what you were speaking to regarding distribution, I think finally now we have options. Options that help the filmmaker. I mean, for our film, I've gotten deals where it's the standard 20-year, you'll sell the DVD bin at Walmart, that kind of a thing where you're with no money up front and it's just like impossible P&A budget with interest on the P&A after a certain number of time. Well, you'll never see a penny. You're in the red for, forever. But there are these new companies coming out, like Gravitas, for example, is doing great work, and Seed and Spark, and then there are more just plain aggregators instead of distributors per se that take your film for a cost and put you on these platforms. And there's self-distribution through Tug, which I think is incredible, or you can do your own independent theater run as well. Yeah. But I think finally now we have options. We can push away the contract that is terrible for you. Because after making a film, you guys all know, making a film is so taxing. You put your soul into it, your time, your blood, sweat, and energy. And at the end of the day, when you're faced with a contract, that just takes everything away from you. Like, you can't help but feel totally let down. And how do you keep that sustainable again and again and again? So now I'm just very thankful for this time in this age now where you can build your own audience through crowdfunding, pre-sell your movie, a little bit. And then that ensures you to say when your film is made, there's an audience waiting for you. And that helps you with distribution too, to say, hey, I already have 1,000 likes on my Facebook page. There's an audience. It can only help you. So I think it's a great time to be a filmmaker when people can make films on their phones and go to Sundance and all that stuff. So I'm hopeful.
I was just gonna add too, especially back to the original question of what advice would you give to first-time filmmakers or writers or whichever it is. I think also being a bit naive can help in the sense that in hindsight, like what you said, it's taxing. Like if I knew the hurdles that were to come, it's so, and you can't, I think you can't plan what, you want the best for your film, and then you end up learning about either self-distribution or like we ended up raising money through Kickstarter for Worthy, but we intended to get money the old-fashioned way, and and that didn't work. And so I do think it's important to, especially at the early phases, to just believe in your movie or believe in whatever you're writing, or think about what socially you have to say, and get through and enjoy the creative space before like the producing hat comes on and you have to be a businesswoman for your film, because it's all part of it. And I think that in hindsight, your movie finds its own path and you learn everything that you maybe didn't want to learn or you didn't want. There's always this hope that like someone will come and be like, this is exact, like here's a present, like your movie, like, yeah. And sometimes that doesn't happen, but then you go all these other routes and you meet amazing women or you meet amazing men and you meet this community that did exactly what you did or whatever. So Yeah,
that's what's great about Film Fatale is we have like a Facebook group, and the posts are I need a lawyer, I need a gaffer, I need this, X, Y, or Z. It's very, very detail oriented, and it can also be very broad strokes. Like, has anyone shot an action sequence before? How do I cover it? You know, so I don't know. I love the film.
I love it too. I love it too. I think it's the way of the future for all of us. And I did like 21 movies in a year and a half, not counting the documentary that I just did that's on HBO that anyone can watch on HBO right
you did
now.
an amazing job.
It's all because of everybody that, you know, is just in our community, and people are like, you know, the more work you do, the more work you do. And I think that going back to like what you guys were saying about crowdfunding, I think there's this really interesting thing happening right now where audiences just want to give you money kind of directly, you know? It's like if we set up an art gallery in this room, like, and we put art, like if we put like your paintings on the wall, you would want people who are paying money at the door to give you the money. You wouldn't give it to like some corporation somewhere. It's literally that easy, you know? And audiences, I know for me, like when Amberly's doing a movie, I want to give her my money. I don't want to give it to some other person. And I think it's just logical. And I know that the people who are following me are on Twitter, like, they want to see stuff that I'm doing, and they want to know that the money that they're giving me is going to go to me and not going to go up a tree or like in a toilet, you know? Which feels like a lot of the times that's what happens to filmmakers. And that's why when we made Good Dick, we self-released it specifically because of all of the ridiculousness and the lack of like transparency within the distribution model as it was and kind of still is sometimes. So if you're selling your movie, you have to ask people, are you guys transparent with your numbers? And if they say no, then you walk away because they're just crooks.
Well, they'll say yes, and then, you know.
And then they won't be.
Yeah, definitely.
But
Well, I
that's
don't know
why
if-
like we can all be in it together and share information and like be ratted out about it because we're all like empowered in that way.
It was funny. There's an aggregator that handles films that have been at Sundance, and I'm not going to remember the name right now. But it was funny because all of a sudden, people whose films I had seen in the '90s were finally getting the rights back to their films, like after 15,
That's
20
incredible.
years.
Oh
You
my
know?
God.
And then they were like, "Well, what do I do with this? I have this film." So they were putting it in this. They were aggregating them and putting them on
I like that idea of
Computer
being
website.
like, I'm a filmmaker, I own my work, I own my movies, and I leave my movies in my will to people in my family because it's like owning a house or it's owning something that is making money. Like, it's a cool thing to do. It's a great job, you know? It's a great way to make some cash.
I want to know how I leave my iTunes library to somebody. That's
Can
my
I have
level
it?
of- yeah.
You want to leave it to me, John?
But,
I'll
you know,
leave
it's-
you mine, but it's really weird. There's a lot of eclectic music in there. I don't know.
No, I have that. Last night, did
We'll swap.
anyone see the Walt Disney film last night?
Yes.
Because he had this
We
rights
were
problem
flying.
too.
Amberly and I were flying. Lynn, you didn't see it? She came in with us. Lynn arrived at the airport with us yesterday, and we became fast friends in the car. It was awesome.
No, but Walt didn't do a lot for women, but he did have an interesting rights issue at one point where we had to invent Mickey Mouse to get out of it. So.
Right.
I like that Minnie Mouse exists though, and she had a job, right? Like she's
Minnie?
Minnie's
She
empowered.
was the breadwinner. But
She was cool.
what was Mickey doing? He was out on a
Mickey
steamboat
was on a
doing
steamboat having fun.
Yeah.
Minnie was just
Minnie's
earning
like a
the dollars.
CEO.
just being goofy.
styrofoam.
Does anyone have questions? Yes.
Hi.
Oh, okay.
What's your name?
Catch.
Catch.
Hi, my name's Mary Rachel Dudley. Thank you so much for being here and inspiring us and doing the kick-ass job that you guys do. I've had the privilege of seeing some of the films beforehand. Oh my gosh, seriously. So as a producer,
Thank you.
As a producer, as many producers out here, writers, directors, this question is for all of you. So how do we make the transition from short to feature? Did you guys start with shorts? Did you go out of the gate into features? And also, can you touch on fundraising? What do you do without a budget?
I went straight to making a feature film. I think it's great to just jump into what you want to do the most, and whatever your biggest dream is, like the biggest, most incredible, most outlandish dream, like the thing you really want to make the movie about, that's the one to focus on. And I think that going from directing shorts, because you've produced shorts and now you want to produce a feature, that's the easiest thing in the world, I think. I mean, I just think you just have to start. Like, there's no two ways about it. The people who you're around right now are probably going to be the people that you end up using in the movie and having like those relationships with the people that are already around. Like that's what Anne Bogart always says. She's from the City Theatre Company in New York, and she's like, don't like try and do something else out with your community, because your community is like the people who you're going to keep working with, which has been true for like all of us. And I think it depends what your movie's about. Like it depends what the subject matter is, but in other countries there are film councils where they have like 50 million euros a year in a given country. Like Poland has a lot of money. Every European country, in Australia, like every country has a film council where they just give you money to make a movie. So if you're interested in making a movie abroad or about something that's like another country's person, like if it's not an American character or whatever, this is something you can also go to. Women in Film is a great resource. If you want your movie to go through the Sundance Lab, they're incredible. And all you need to do is like enter the lab, and the IFC place is awesome. Like our friend Sylvia is there. She's doing amazing stuff there. Yeah, she's doing her feature in Norway, and they have a film council. But I think that crowdfunding is a really great thing to do. Seed and Spark and Kickstarter and Indiegogo, they're all amazing, and any of them that you want to work with are like the greatest. And finding your audience that way, it's like it's finding people that really want to be a part of your movie, and also having the assumption that the audience is out there and you just have to find them, as opposed to the energy of like, no one's going to want to see this or give us money, which a lot of people have initially. It's actually the opposite. It's like, whoa, man, so many people want to give us money, and they're all around the world. Like our friend Jocelyn raised $112,000 on Kickstarter, and at the time when we did that campaign with her, at that time, that was the most money anyone had ever raised. Before it was $1 million, and then it was like 3 million. Like people have raised so much money on Kickstarter now, but $112,000 back then for us was like, holy fucking shit. And someone gave her 25 grand from Australia, a stranger. So that's the person that you're working for. Like you're working for your audience member who has a lot of money and really is looking for places to put the money. Like genuinely is like, oh my God, where can I put this money? Like someone help me. And I think when you're in that kind of energy, exchange, I think that you actually make greater work, because you don't have to think about the money. You're focusing on what, like, how to make a better movie, how to make better art. So yeah, I think you're gonna do great, and I want to read the script.
So for my film, just to tell you a little bit about the genesis of our story, I made shorts before this, and I think they were a really great training ground for me as a director and a producer. But for this feature, we actually made a short film to cut into a teaser to help us with our crowdfunding campaign. And besides the obvious sort of benefits of having something very visual people can latch on to, can get a sense of tone, a sense of who you are as a filmmaker, that helped us by miles, by the way. Like that is why we had 2 successful campaigns, because the people really responded well to that material. But as a director, I found it to be such a great exercise for the creative team to have a practice run. You know what I mean? So we actually took scenes from the feature, scenes that I knew I wanted to workshop and try and shoot visually and also work with actors on. I took those scenes and we shot those bits for that teaser. And it was a great exercise for me, my cinematographer, my production designer, and it was just great to work with actors and hear the words and go through it all. And we learned so much from it. We learned so much. And even for you as a director or a producer too, just to produce that leg of it, or that portion of it, to do it once and then hopefully do it better again, I thought it was really helpful. And for Seed and Spark too, talk about like the mystery donor.
Seed and Spark, oh my God, they're so cool.
The way that website works is kind of amazing. It's kind of like a wedding registry, but for film. So I want 5 C-stands. I want, 10 days of camera rental. I want craft service. I want a pass fan. I want all these things. And people can pick and choose to see what they want to donate to. And I think that gives the donors a really great sense of participation in what you're doing. And it's fun for them too, like, oh, I want to know what movie making is like. What do you need? But then we had this woman who was a stranger to me, and she kept on coming back week after week to donate more into the picture vehicle fund, because the car, I think, is a very, I mean, it's a character in a road trip film, what kind of car you choose, right? So she just loved that idea of donating towards the car. And she ended up giving us like over $500 for, total combined. And we find out she's a location manager in Los Angeles, and I end up working with her when we shot in LA.
Cool.
Like that's
awesome.
It's a story. These if you give yourself these opportunities to be connected to people in this kind of way, I think that's what we love about filmmaking, right? Is these miracles and these people that we meet along the way that just come out of the woodwork.
Yeah,
So
it's incredible.
And just to add what Lee said, I didn't write a short to a feature, but I as an actress, did a one-woman show of the character in the movie, and that ended up being a great training ground in an acting point of view to really flesh out the character, and it helped me. I workshopped a lot of my material in an acting class, in a weekly acting class, and found a lot of the story through and so that was great when I look at, because I didn't write it as a short. I adapted the one woman show to a feature.
How long did it take you to write it?
It took a year, and then a year of fine tuning. While the first year was writing it, and the second year was, as I was rewriting it, was finding money. And but to add to, not only you were saying the training was great for your team to get kind of like a great dress rehearsal, and I found that it was helpful to create a fan base of the one woman show, because a lot of them, when they found out I was making it to a movie, were interested. And then when we did the Kickstarter campaign, all those people were our immediate backers, and then that word spread. And so it is amazing to just start saying what you're doing, and people come out of the woodwork with oh, this person does this, and this person has this camera, and it was astonishing to me to watch these things come out that I never would have thought, like all these, and everyone I did genuinely wants to help you, especially if they're a fan of your work, or they're a fan of your story, or they identify with what you have to say.
Yeah, man. Amanda Siegfried gave me $2,000 in a Kickstarter campaign, and didn't know my work. And I was like, this is the new business model for us as filmmakers.
And
like,
women lifting up women.
Yeah, like she just
that.
saw a
That's
picture
the
and she
crux
was
of it,
like, that's awesome. Like how cute and beautiful and magical.
Lynn, did you have anything to add?
We
Lynn.
can go to the next question.
Sorry?
We can go to the next question.
How did you all survive before you got to that point? How were you?
How did we survive?
How do you pay your rent financially?
Emotionally? How did we survive?
It's like, well,
During that struggle, how do you pay your bills? Because you're
great question.
you're
Good
spending all of
question.
your time doing the core, your passion.
Yeah.
How are you getting your bills paid?
Well,
Lynn, how do
I
you?
had a whole nother career. I mean, this is sort of a second career later in life thing for me compared to all these ladies who I think have been doing it pretty much all their professional lives.
Yes, it's true.
So I worked in campaign politics for 15 years, and took some time off after my daughter was born, and then kind of went back to grad school, came back to this, but how do I survive? But look, I've done a lot of this personally for no money. I didn't get paid as a producer. I didn't get paid as a writer. All the money we raised went into the film. And if I hadn't banked, some money and goodwill from the earlier career, I probably couldn't do that.
I have a day job, so I have during that time I think I was mostly doing just making money through a day job, but I wish I had a better I was trying to put a spin on it to make it sound better than it is.
You are a nuclear physicist. And
Yes.
Amarlee is a scientist. She works for NASA as well.
Just at nighttime.
I also, when I first got to America, I came here when I was 17, so I was cocktail waitressing in New York. I was modeling. I've waitressed for sure. But I think the kind of answer that I don't know if you're seeking, but I would want to hear maybe, is that like with the crowdfunding, it's immediate. Do you know what I mean? Like those campaigns are right now and they happen immediately. So it's something that you could do right now and get completely monetized and enfranchised and be a little business as you go along. There's so many ways that you can keep doing crowdfunding campaigns whenever you need to for whatever project, you know. And within those campaigns, like we pay ourselves, kind of. Do we? Yeah, we do. We do. Not yet. Ish. But depending on what the campaign is, like you can, and I think that's really a valid thing to be cool with. And also the UK Film Council gave me money to write a script when I was working here in the States. Like I was writing a script for them, and that was really great because it was like getting government money, which every other country gives you. They give you government money for the arts in general. So if you're like, I want to write a script, they're like, cool, here's all this money. And they're loving about it, and you're like, thank you.
And just to add, one thing that helped me, just as far as I felt when I was writing, I was like trying to build a house, and I was the only one laying the bricks, and I was like, there's got to be, how do I figure out a better way? And the second I was at a place where I could get more people involved, and we all were still working for nothing and just passionate about what the story was, then I felt that the momentum picked up a little bit, because now there's 4 other people making calls for you during the day or servicing this bigger idea that you all have agreed to do, and then things really started to move. And so I feel like as soon as you can recruit other people and you're all rallying each other, it was easier to be productive every day and to start checking things off the list. And like what Mariana said, it's immediate with that crowdfunding. Yeah, and it was really inspiring to, because then if you reach your goal, then now it's all of a sudden showtime, and it's a great stimulus to be like, oh, now I gotta kind of jump in and dive off the cliff and take risks and be brave, and that's really where it's fun.
Yeah. I was lucky enough to start first ADing, being an assistant director right out of school, right out of film school, because I wanted to be on set. I think being on set, learning set dynamics, learning filmmaking that way is the best and most direct way you can become an informed director. So I started just working on set and also producing small projects, and then from there I started directing small projects, small commercials and music videos and stuff like that.
Yeah, commercials is great.
Commercials are great.
Facebook, there's so many places that need content right now, and if you're not making a feature film and you want to make like a 5-minute video for a particular brand, this is awesome. And they give you money, they give you like serious cash.
And not talking like, commercials that you see on TV, there's so many forms of commercial work now. Yeah, on like online. The internet and promos and stuff. But it was hard. I mean, it's not an easy process to try to support yourself and then also feel like, oh, I'm a director, I'm a writer-director, I'm a creative person, but I do this for money. I think that's an inner struggle that we all have, right? We want to become this one thing, but then we're labeled as something else because that's how we sustain ourselves. But that was so great about crowdfunding, because as soon as I posted my campaign on Facebook, I am a director now. That kind of was my coming out party.
I remember that moment. I remember when that happened. I was so excited for you.
Oh, thank you.
I was like, holler!
But it's such a crazy thing, because I think women have a really hard time rebranding themselves to be in the role that they want to be in, because I think it's a true statistic. People that have worked with you at a certain kind of capacity, say I work with this production company as an AD and they really appreciate my work, and I want to come back to them to be a director potentially, they will actually, it's harder for them to accept you as that than a new person, than a new production company, than a new entity. It's I don't know if this is something that male directors or
it could be true in many fields.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
It's just one of those things. Yeah. I think we have to wrap up. I think I was getting the hook. Thank you, Lee and Marianne and Amberly and Lynn.
And you have a question, you can ask us. Sure. We'll be here.
Sure. I'm not trying to be,
We'll be here.
Patriarchal.
Come up to us. Yeah.
But thank you.
Don't ever say that word.
Thank you, women. And thank you for coming.
Thank you. Thanks, John.